Okay, there we go. It looks like I finally figured it out. We are live. Hopefully, everybody can see me and hear me here. So I apologize again for the inability to get this set up quickly. Next time we do this, it will not be this way. But I hope you can see my screen now, and I hope there's still some of you waiting to see this so we can jump into the presentation. I am going to just dive in because we've already wasted a bunch of time, unfortunately, and I apologize again for that. So I'm just going to dive in, and hopefully you will start to see some of the stuff as I go. And if you have any questions, of course, drop them in the chat, and we can cover them later on as we go through this presentation. So again, as you heard me mention before, we had our technical delay there. There is I think, overriding theory that AI is going to be taking away a lot of jobs from a lot of people, and that simply is not going to be the case. What really is going to happen is that people with AI are going to take away jobs from people without AI. So learning how to use AI as a skill is going to be one of the most important things you can do over the next few years, because it is going to continue to permeate the entire ecosystem and be part of pretty much every single daily job that anybody or any of us are going to be doing. So getting a handle on this is going to be really, really important. So if you aren't sure how to increase your efficiency with AI in your spreadsheets, it's not your fault. Nobody's taught you how to use this, and this is not something that you would have learned because it is so new to the market. If you're concerned that AI is going to replace you, you can put those fears to rest. There are these people I like to call AI alarmists, which are just these people that want to tell you that AI is coming for your job and is going to be absolutely out to get you, which is just not the case. It's, again, more so about learning how to use AI for yourself. It's going to get you to the place that you want to be. So my goal for this class as we go is to get you a better understanding of how powerful of a tool AI can be, instead of treating it as a threat to your day-to-day job. It's possible to find even better advancement opportunities, take your career to the next level, and find those big projects and opportunities that you want to be a part of if you can learn how to master and use AI as a tool for you instead of something that drags you down or props up other people that you may be competing with for those promotions and those opportunities. So that's what we're going to learn from this class. I'm going to go through a few demos with you so you can get an idea of how some of this is going to work, how you can make ChatGPT, which is an absolutely free tool, and we're going to focus on using that as the foundation for our class today, only because it is absolutely free. Now, of course, there are some good paid options out there, but those aren't going to be accessible for everybody. So I want to make sure we cover things that are absolutely accessible so everybody can get value out of this training. My goal for this class is to change the way that you use AI and allow it to be work for you instead of against you. And I'm going to also show you a little bit of how you can use templates. One of the things that Simple Sheets is amazing at, we have our premium template library that covers everything you might need, and you can use that with AI to really maximize your results and get the most efficiency out of your spreadsheet use, because AI can allow you to understand some of the complex formulas that are built into those spreadsheets so that you can actually edit those templates much faster than if you were to just do it by yourself. Now, if you're an Excel expert, have at it, do it yourself, but AI really is that shortcut to get you from the point where you may just kind of understand spreadsheets to really being able to do some really awesome things with your spreadsheets. So as you heard me talk about before we got into this technical delay, I am a former Microsoft employee. I worked at Microsoft for a little over 3 years, and like I was telling you, Microsoft would run the world on Excel if they could. It was the most used tool of anything. I was blown away at how much it was used internally at Microsoft. So there is always going to be a place for spreadsheet use in the day-to-day life. It's just so ingrained in how a lot of businesses do business that it is not going anywhere. Even with AI is just going to make it easier. It's not going to replace it altogether. I've built thousands of spreadsheets over the years. I now do it for myself as a consultant with some businesses, and obviously with my own businesses like Simple Sheets here. Do a lot of Excel work myself still. It's one of the things I really enjoy doing because it's so specific, and I'm an analytical person, right? So there's not a lot of ambiguity in how you are working with your numbers, right? It's not creative writing, which is something I'm not so good at. So spreadsheets are something that I've always been drawn to and been very, very had a lot of fun working with. And I included a picture here. This is me presenting in front of thousands of executives at Microsoft. I was fortunate enough to be able to present in front of one of their leadership conferences when I was there. And that was an awesome opportunity and something just to kind of show you that I have had the opportunity to talk about some of these things before in front of a lot of people. So I've been there. I know some of the stuff, and I'm hoping to pass that on to you with this web class. So again, my story at Microsoft, I was really overworked. That's probably not uncommon for people that are at Microsoft. I was creating new spreadsheets daily because of how often we were using them. And I really needed a better way to do things. And that was what ultimately inspired Simple Sheets and the idea of using templates so I didn't have to start from scratch every time when I wanted to do something new with my spreadsheets. And I could use something that allowed me to just pull my time back a little bit and not spend as much time working in spreadsheets so I could spend time working on things that may advance my career or set me up for success the way I want to. And at the time, there was no AI, so I was doing this all myself. But now that you have access to a tool like ChatGPT, there's so much more that you can do, and we will talk about some of that as we go through this. So how does this apply to you? So if you've ever been stuck with a blank spreadsheet, I've been there. I've been there many times, right? And so learning how to use tools to get yourself started, it's kind of like the spreadsheet version of writer's block, right? So you've got your situation where you're like, I don't know how to start, right? Well, AI is one of those things that I'm sure writers would tell you is help them with writer's block. Well, it can help you with spreadsheet block too. If you're afraid that AI is coming for your job, again, we can all relate to that concern, but it is going to be something that's going to be okay. And I'll show you why as we go through this. And if you're unsure of the future, again, it's going to be okay. So today's plan, we're going to be covering 2 big AI, Excel, and spreadsheet secrets. These 2 are going to be hands-on demos. I'm going to show you inside ChatGPT. I have it open in another window here. I'll pull it in. We'll go through it together, and we'll look at how this all works. I wanted, again, to use a free tool like ChatGPT because it is accessible to everybody, so it gives everybody the opportunity to get the most out of this training. Didn't want to use the paid tools, and there are some great ones, but if you don't have access to them, then you're really not going to get the value from what we're talking about. So I want everybody to be able to do that. The first secret we're going to talk about is actually one that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but is where I have seen the most impact for ChatGPT and AI in my spreadsheets, and that's actually around collaboration. And it sounds kind of weird and kind of counterintuitive when you think about it, but as we go through it, you'll really understand where the value is coming from and why it can be such a powerful collaboration tool that allows you to really understand what your collaborators, so anybody you're working with, is doing inside of spreadsheets to really maximize your efficiency there. And then secret number 2 that we're going to talk about is how to get ChatGPT to write those formulas for you. And this is something you probably have heard people talk about because it is a fairly common use for AI with spreadsheets, but I want to make sure we cover it and give you some idea of how to do this so that you can get a better understanding for how you can use it when you're writing some of those complex formulas, or if you run into issues where you don't know what to do next with your formula or how to fix it. ChatGPT is a fantastic tool to doing that. So that's going to be today's plan. I wanted to start out with giving you that, and I am kind of running through this pretty quickly because I want to make sure we get through this in the time that we have. And again, I apologize for the slow start to today's stream. If you wait till the end, we are going to have an awesome opportunity for you. We're going to give you access to some of these things and give you some ability to take what you've learned today to the next level. So I recommend you stick around to the end and get all of that awesome information. So without further ado, let's dive right into secret number 1, and I'll get to the first demo here in a second. So again, secret number 1 is collaborating with ease using ChatGPT within your spreadsheets. So some people think that ChatGPT is just for creating formulas, and that's fine. Everybody knows about that type of use case for ChatGPT, but while it's powerful for that, it really has an awesome ability to help you collaborate. And again, I'll show you how this works. If you're confused, we'll get into it here in a second. So if you're like me, you have to share your spreadsheets with others, right? I think most of us, unless you're working truly in a silo, you are typically working with somebody else, or you're presenting your spreadsheets to somebody else where they are going to take a look at your spreadsheets and get an idea of what is going on inside of them. So I don't really know many people that don't have to share their spreadsheet work elsewhere. Now, you may not be sharing all of your spreadsheet work, but you probably have some at least that you're sharing, whether it's dashboards or it's a report that you're working on with other colleagues. These are things where you're going to be collaborating with others, and spreadsheets historically have been really challenging to do that with because of the complexity that can get built into them and the way that different people work inside their spreadsheets. And that is where ChatGPT really shines and allows you to make it easy to understand and document your spreadsheets. And let's just face it, none of us want to do the documentation work inside of a spreadsheet. There's a reason that, and I'm going to use a software example here, but if you're in software, lots of people don't like to document their code, even though it's probably one of the most important things somebody can do, because it's just monotonous and it's really boring work to do. You've already done the hard work, which is writing the code or writing the formulas and building the spreadsheet, but actually showing people how it works so you can hand it off to somebody else and they can get a full understanding of it. That's not the fun part, or that's not the engaging part of creating your spreadsheet. And that's where ChatGPT can do such a really good job of setting you up for success. That communication gap is oftentimes where, at least I have seen over the years, a lot of the issues come up when I'm working with my spreadsheets, because if I hand it off to you and you don't know what I was doing, or you take a little bit of time to learn it, right? Even a few hours, those are hours you could have been using doing literally anything else, right? Working on other important work, doing other projects that are equally important, right? So if any of that time somebody spends kind of uploading that spreadsheet into their brain and understanding how it works, that's going to slow down your collaboration, and that's where ChatGPT, I think, makes a wonderful impact. So let's get into our first demo here. I'm going to show you how we can use ChatGPT. I'm going to pull this over here so you can see my ChatGPT window. We're going to start a new chat here, and I'm going to go back and we're going to take a look at some of these complex formulas that may exist. So I have a couple examples in our spreadsheet or our presentation here. So we'll grab the first one. I just want to show you how this would work. So let's just say this formula was inside of a spreadsheet that a coworker or a friend or a family member handed to you to work with, right? So they've given you this formula and they've given you the spreadsheet, and you have the opportunity to see this and try to understand how it works, right? But it is so complicated. There's a lot of parentheses in there, right? If you've seen a complex Excel formula or Google Sheets formula, and I use those interchangeably because they're really in a lot of ways the same tool, though pros and cons of each. I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but both spreadsheet softwares, right? So when you see these long formulas, right, that formula bar that takes up multiple different rows or multiple different lines, right, you don't have to expand the formula box just to see everything in there. It takes a while for a human, any of us, no matter how advanced you are in spreadsheets, to parse through that and understand what is going on with that formula. Well, that's where ChatGPT can come in really, really handy. So if in this example, let's say that formula I just copied was in my spreadsheet, I could open up ChatGPT. I get ChatGPT open right here in front of me. Again, I'm on a free plan here, so just set up a basic free plan. Anybody can do this with any type of account. You just need an email and a password. Set it up and you're good to go. I use the sign in with Google option, but again, totally up to you. And then we're going to jump in here and we're going to start asking ChatGPT to give us some insight into this formula. So all we need to do is go in, start a new chat, and say, please help me understand the elements of this formula. And then we're going to paste in the formula right there. And I'm going to press enter. And ChatGPT is going to go to work for me explaining what's going on in this formula. Now, you can ask that question in a number of different ways, right? So I did it in, that's the way I asked it. You could just simply say, tell me how this formula works. You don't have to use the exact prompting that I'm using, but you can see as I've put this in here, it is going through and analyzing every single piece of this formula. It's parsing it out for me so I can understand everything that's going on without having to go through it line by line and really breaking it down for myself, right? So it's telling me the first piece of this is an if statement, which is the main conditional format or function in Excel. And if you're familiar with spreadsheets, you'll know how if statements work, which is basically just saying if something is true, do this. If it's not, do that. And then it's giving some statements for the first condition for the if statement, and it's saying if this is true, then it moves to the next step. So it's saying that A1 is greater than 100, and if B1 equals yes. So let's just assume we have a table where there's values in column A and there's probably some text in column B, and then it's trying to decide if that's true, and then it proceeds to sum up and multiply some data if it is true. But if it's not, then it gets into this piece, right? So if it's not greater than 100, or if it equals no, then it would move into the next statement, which is actually another nested if statement, where it does another round of checks to see if a value is high or low, and then if it isn't, it would return with an invalid, and if it is, then it would return with one of those values above. So you'll see this is a pretty complex if statement formula with a nested if statement inside of it. And if I were to try to go through this and learn this and just read this myself, this may take me a half hour to parse out and really understand. But ChatGPT just did this, and we learned what was going on in this formula in less than a minute, right? And so that's where, if you're working with somebody else and you get handed a spreadsheet and they've got all these complex formulas that you don't understand how they work, you don't understand how they built them, and it's missing that context, really. I mean, that's really what it's all about. It's missing that context for you as a new user of the spreadsheet. You can take all of these complex formulas, jump over into ChatGPT, drop them in here, and get an understanding of how that spreadsheet is working, where the data is flowing, what they were doing with these different formulas, right? So now I understand this person was creating an if statement based off of some values in column A and column B. And again, this is a fairly basic example. Complex formulas get so much more complex than this, but this just shows you how you can quickly and easily start to understand the formulas that are going on inside of your spreadsheet. And let's just really quickly open up the other one I have here. I have one more right here, and we'll do the same thing just so you can see kind of how this works with a slightly different variable or slightly different options. So let's open this up. And we're going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to use the same window, and we'll talk about conversation windows here in a second, because these are really important when it comes to using ChatGPT effectively for your spreadsheets. But that's going to be part of our secret number 2 here in a second. So I'm going to then let's just make this a little bit more blunt. And let's do this. This formula works. And it'll do the same thing for us. And you'll see, again, it's just going through and breaking it out for us with everything that we need and giving us understanding of how that formula works. So, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. But this is one of those things that makes it really, really easy to understand spreadsheets that might get handed to you. Now, the other thing on this that I think is really important to understand is you can take this information and you can use this as the documentation for your spreadsheet. So if you wanted to, you could take this and you could go put this inside of a documentation tab. So oftentimes what I've seen people do, and we can just show as an example here what this would look like. So let's say you have your spreadsheet open, right? You could create a documentation tab, and you could start putting some of this information that ChatGPT just generated into the values for yourself, right? That's what is going to give you the opportunity to save some of this information for somebody else. Now, of course, with ChatGPT, they can use it to understand your spreadsheet, so maybe you don't need to worry so much about documentation, but it can be really helpful to document yourself as you go. And that's where, again, having ChatGPT explain it, where you would just copy all of this over and put this inside of your spreadsheet here, right? Now I have all this here for whoever wants to come and take a look at this spreadsheet, right? And it's all there for them to read. You clean up the formatting and all that, but it's all available for them to read easily, which is something that I think makes it a lot easier for you to collaborate powerfully with coworkers, friends, family, whoever you're working with. So that is where I have found the most value out of ChatGPT, honestly, out of everything. And, I've done a lot of work in spreadsheets, so the formula stuff is not as important for me. This is something, though, that is just absolutely a game changer when it comes to collaborating with others, and I think is one of the best use cases that I have personally found in my day-to-day life for ChatGPT and AI within my spreadsheets. So we're going to wrap that up. Let's move on to secret number 2. If you guys are enjoying what we're talking about, drop a thumbs up. Give me a comment in the chat. Let me know what you're liking. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in there as we go through this lesson. We can get to some of those questions here in a little bit. I'm going to just keep going through because, again, we did start a little late, so I want to make sure we get through everything before the end of our time together. But if you are enjoying this, please let me know. I hope this is providing value for you. Again, that one right there was one of the biggest things that has been of use to me personally, and that's really where I'm coming from with a lot of this information. I'm giving you what has been valuable for me in my day-to-day life using these new AI tools to make my spreadsheets better and make my life easier using spreadsheets. So Let's move into secret number 2. So secret number 2 is how to get ChatGPT to write those complex formulas and functions for you. So this is one I know a lot of people have been talking about over the last year or so since ChatGPT has become available to so many people. But I think there's still some misconceptions that people don't understand how ChatGPT could write formulas for them if it doesn't know your data. And this is where we're going to talk about something, a couple different things, and I'm going to talk to you about them here in the demo, which is one thing is context is king. Context is king, and you'll hear me say this quite a bit as we go through this lesson. It's because it's really important to get context inside of your spreadsheet, inside of your ChatGPT window, so ChatGPT knows what it is referencing. And that's what you're missing when we talk about that misconception just a minute ago, which is that ChatGPT doesn't know the data inside of your spreadsheet. And that's true. It doesn't know what you have in your spreadsheet. So you have to tell it. You have to give it that context, and that allows it to then create all sorts of great formulas, functions, and insights for you based off of that context that you have given it. And that's what we're going to talk about when we talk about the single conversation method here in a minute. And that's keeping all of our data inside of one conversation so that ChatGPT has that context, because context dies outside of a single conversation. So I'm going to open this up real quick so you can see this. So this specific conversation, right, has all of this context. So if I wanted to ask it a question about one of these specific formulas that we just went through, it would know what I'm talking about because it has that context in the conversation. But having everything in a single conversation like this allows me to continue that context with ChatGPT. So what I would always recommend is this is the way I do this, is if I have a project or a specific problem that I'm trying to solve inside my spreadsheet, I set up a new chat for that specific problem or that specific project, and then I keep everything inside that one chat window so that I can give all that context to ChatGPT as I continue to ask my questions about whatever I'm working on. So if it's a formula that I'm trying to debug that's not working properly or it's not executing the way I want, I set up one window, I give ChatGPT the function, the formula, and I say, this isn't working. I don't know why I'm getting an invalid error. This looks correct. ChatGPT looks at it, tells me what it thinks is wrong. I fix it, and then maybe I come back later with another function or another formula in that same spreadsheet that has a similar issue. ChatGPT has that context now to help me solve that problem. So let's just jump in here and start a new chat. And I'm going to have ChatGPT generate some generic test data for us. This is another thing you can use ChatGPT for. It's not necessarily important if you have your own data, but we're just going to generate some to start with. So I'm going to say generate test example data for, say, 20 businesses sales in 2022. And it's going to put together, again, it's fictional, illustrative, right? And ChatGPT will never put together real data because that's not what it's meant for, but it's putting together all these for us and giving us a table to work with. Now, you can always copy in a table from your spreadsheets, and that's one of the best ways to bring context into ChatGPT for you, is to copy over data from your spreadsheets and put it right in ChatGPT. Now, the challenge with that is that if you have too much data, ChatGPT is not going to be able to put it all in there for you. So let me regenerate this. Looks like it got an error there. But that's what you'll run into, kind of something similar to what I just ran into with an error there, if you put in too many rows of data, right? So if you put in 20, 30, 40 rows of data at once, you're likely to get it to error out. And that's where what you'll have to do instead is reference the columns, right? So you'll say, my sales data is in column B, or my business names are column A, right? So as we go through this, I've got business names column A, industry column B, and then I've got months across the board, right? I could tell ChatGPT that same thing. I could say, hey, I've got business names in column A, I've got industry names in column B, I've got then my next 6 columns are all date fields, January, February, March, etc. And then just give it that to start with, and it'll just acknowledge it and say, yep, I got it. And then you can say, please add up everything in January for me. And then it would do that. And you're going to see here in a second how we're going to use this to create that in a second. So let's go in here and let's start having it create formulas for us. So let's just say I would like to create a sum for January's revenue. So let's just tell ChatGPT, create a formula for all of the sales in January. And give it a second. And then it's going to tell us, assuming this was in column C, right? It's going to give us that. Now, of course, that's a really basic formula, right? But now I can start to, iterate from here and create additional more complex formulas, right? So that was just a basic sum, but let's just say create a formula that adds all the sales in column C, January, when the sales are higher than $20,000. And that should be able to do that. And yeah, so it's going to use the sum if, right? And so now it's doing the sum if for me, right? So you can see we're starting to get more and more information in there for you to see. And I think that's really valuable for us to be able to see everything going on. And then, you can get more and more and more advanced with this specific formula creation. So that is kind of how you can start to use ChatGPT to create these complex formulas. And because of time, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here in a second. But ChatGPT can make anything you need as long as you just ask it and prompt it in a way that's going to get you that information. So with that said, let's jump back to the presentation. So I just want to, before we wrap this up, I want to make sure, did you find value in this presentation? If you did, please drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of today's presentation. I want to give you an exclusive offer here at the end before we wrap up and before we get into questions. So I just want to quickly wrap everything up. So we've covered in this secrets 1 and 2, which I think are really valuable. Number 1 is all around collaborating inside of using ChatGPT to collaborate in your spreadsheets. Something that is, again, the most valuable thing I have found for my spreadsheet AI is to use it as an assistant to collaborate better and more efficiently. And then we talked a little about how you can use ChatGPT to create functions, and we talked about how context is king, and you have to give ChatGPT that context, otherwise it won't be successful. And then how you use that in a continuous conversation so that you can ask more and more questions about your data inside of a single conversation. So let's jump in. So I want to talk about what we have for you today for sticking with us and sticking through this presentation. I appreciate everybody who's made it this far, especially with our technical difficulties. And again, I apologize for those. But we are going to be giving you the opportunity to get your hands on the Future Proof Your Job with AI bundle today. And this bundle is going to include everything you need to make AI work for you, not against you. Something that I think everybody is really concerned about. It's going to set you up to benefit from the AI revolution and not fall behind. I think that's one of the big fears we all have, is that AI is going to come take our jobs. But if you use it properly, it's going to help you get to the next level, and you're going to get there fast. With what we have to offer today, you're going to be able to master AI and ChatGPT within less than a week. Cover it in the most basic way so you have an opportunity to get your hands on it quickly. I don't want to do things at a level where you have to slog through it. I want to get you up and running fast, because AI is changing every single day, and the faster you understand how it works and the faster you start implementing it into your job, the bigger and better results you're going to get. So here's what you get with your Future Proofing the AI bundle. We are going to be giving you free access to the brand new AI Masterclass. That one is included as a free gift for watching this. It goes in depth on everything we've been talking about in this video, along with a number of other topics that will be really helpful for you as we go. You'll also get access to our Google Sheets Masterclass, which will teach you everything about how to use Google Sheets for whatever type of application you are using. We also have an Excel course similar, which is actually a 2-part comprehensive course covering both the beginner and more advanced stages of learning how to use Excel. So if you don't know how to use spreadsheets at all, you can learn them first and then learn how to implement AI for them. It's going to make you so much more powerful as a professional and give you many more opportunities to be successful in your career. You'll also get unlimited access to our premium template library that includes over 150 different unique templates across 10 different industries, things like operations, project management, accounting. You name it. If you use spreadsheets in that industry, we have templates for you that will work for what you need. And of course, as with anything with Simple Sheets, you get 24/7 support. If you have any problems with any of your classes or any of your content, any of those templates, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you at any time, solve your problems, make it work for you, and get you the best results from your product. So just to give you a little bit of proof, or why we are so excited about Simple Sheets and what we can do for you. Simple Sheets has been around for more than 3 years. We have helped over 10,000 professionals streamline their work and make their jobs a lot easier. It's one of the things that we are really passionate about. This works for anyone. regardless of what you are doing to help you future-proof your skills. I think if it's best, if you're a data analyst, operations professional, project manager, or really anything in between, this will work for you. It doesn't matter if you use spreadsheets a little bit or a lot in your job. AI is going to be changing the way a lot of this work happens, and staying ahead of the curve is going to get you the best results for yourself long term. So I want to get you there and help you stay ahead of everybody else and be able to take advantage of this tool instead of fall behind. So number one reason a lot of people don't want to get started, and I totally get it. We've gone through some, and hopefully I've given you a lot of value to show you there is going to be a lot you can learn inside of our courses. But if not, we always offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't enjoy what you have purchased, just let us know and we'll be happy to help you out there. And also, we are always happy to provide invoices and other documentation if you need it for your job to get reimbursed, because oftentimes, and I'm not your employer, so I don't know every employer what they do, but most employers we've seen are willing to reimburse for this kind of training, because this kind of training is something that will make you a better employee and help them as a company. So they're willing to oftentimes reinvest in your development. So if that's the case, let us know. We can get you an invoice or whatever other documentation you need so that you can get your company to reimburse you for this training. Ask first, of course, make sure they're willing to do it before you bank on that, because again, I'm not your employer. I don't know exactly what they do, but I just know that's really common for a lot of the people that have come through our courses and bought our templates in the past. So that's what we've got. So the real question here is it worth gambling just a little bit of your time to future-proof your career? I mean, we're talking about your career here. How important is your future career to you? And if even this stuff can do half of what I've talked about today and give you half as much value as what we've gone through, it will pay for itself many times over. Because if it can keep you in the job that you want or help you get that job that you desire, that is worth so much on a day-to-day basis. I mean, think about how much better that will make your life and everything else going on for you if you can stay ahead of the curve, take advantage of these tools, and you don't get bogged down by the fear of what AI can do. Because there's a lot of fear mongering out there where people are really trying to make it sound like AI is just going to absolutely wipe out a lot of jobs. And again, if you learn how to use it as a tool for yourself, you will have better value than if you let it take over for you. So with that said, our offer for you today is the Future-Proof Your Job with AI bundle. This is going to be a $199 offer for you with a link down in the description below. Normally you pay $199 just for our template library alone. So this is something where you're getting a big discount. You're getting all of those courses and all of that additional information essentially for free when you invest in yourself and make the decision to grow your career. You'll get unlimited access to that entire library plus all of that amazing training. And again, just click the link below. It will have access to you for the next 24 hours so that you can get a chance to take advantage of this awesome offer. So with that said, I'm going to check for some questions here and just make sure. Let's see. Looks like we don't really have anything in there. So I wanted to make sure we save some time and have a chance to answer any questions. So if you have any questions at this point, please drop them in the chat and we can go through them together. But it looks like I'm not really seeing many right now. So again, I highly recommend you take advantage of this bundle. It'll be ready it'll be around for the next 24 hours. I think this is AI, when you take advantage of this, I mean, it is going to have a massive multiplicable impact on your career and on your skills, right? So invest in yourself, invest in your skills, make yourself more indispensable. Again, people with AI are going to replace people without. Understanding AI and how you can use it in your day-to-day life is going to be paramount to success over the next 5-10 years, and it's going to be changing every single year, I imagine. And so getting ahead of it now and better understanding how it works, so when the next iteration comes out, you have that heads up where that jump start on it is going to make it much easier for you to be successful. So with that said, I'm not seeing many questions in here, so I don't want to take up too much more of everybody's time. I'm going to wrap up this stream, and if you have any questions, still drop them in the chat. We'll get back to you at some point. We'll either follow up with you over email or jump in the chat later on and get you answers to any questions you have. And of course, if you have any questions about this, feel free to email us at support@simplesheets.co. Always happy to help, and I will see you in the next one.